We were the family of immigrants in India.
I was born and bred in Mexico City.
People 20, 30 years older than me were doing the same thing what I was doing.
I didn't want to spend the rest of my life not seeing the rest of the world.
I don't want to keep doing the same thing all my life.
The spirit of adventure that took me out of Mexico, dragging 2 massive bags full of clothes.
So I was used to meeting all the new people who were coming in, so I thought, yeah, here's another one. We were the family of immigrants in India, you can say, because my parents had moved from Pakistan to India at the time of partition. So we had to start, literally my parents and grandparents had to start life from scratch again because they had to leave all their possessions behind and came to India. So yeah, we started off in a pretty poor situation. We had a house which was given to us by the government and all that. So yeah, slowly built it up from there. And my dad was working as a journalist. So we were given a piece of land in Gulmohar Park, which is a nice suburb in Delhi. So yeah, we built a house there and moved there when I was in year 9. So yeah, so it was a bit of a struggle initially, but yeah, slowly things got better.
I was born and bred in Mexico City, in a privileged situation where Mexico was then a really nice, safe place to live in. My mother worked in the house and my dad worked in the same building, in the ground floor. So yeah, we were always together. And my father, what I remember from my dad, what he left me was a work ethic that was incredible. And what my mother left me, she died when I was quite young, was my biggest treasure, which is my faith. I was brought up a little bit bicultural in the sense that my dad had a strong affiliation to the United States, and their ethic, their work ethic, and their, just the whole ethos that I suppose the business ethos that makes up the U.S. And my mother left to me the Mexican cultural traditions and all that. So the cooking, the detail for order, all those things. So it was a good life, yeah.
So first time when I told them I was going to go and work in Middle East, they were all very anxious about that. They said, "You sure you want to go to a Muslim country?" And I said, "Yeah, obviously the world has changed, things have changed. It's no problem anymore." But that's what they had in their mind, having seen what they had seen. So yeah, it was quite different. And again, whatever I was doing in India, I was going to do the similar job in Middle East, but get paid 3 to 4 times more. That's what drove me to go there, which was great experience. Yeah, no regrets. I really enjoyed that. I was there only a couple of years, and when I looked around me in my office, people 20, 30 years older than me were doing the same thing what I was doing. But that's when I realized, no, it's not all about money. I mean, yeah, I don't want to keep doing the same thing all my life and just have retired with more money, that's it. But there's no experience or broader knowledge or anything like that. So that made me think that I need to study more and advance my career faster than remain an engineer all my life. So that took me to Australia to do my MBA. And yeah, I was there for 2 years to do full-time MBA. And next year when I was 27, I met her. She had come all the way from Mexico to do her master's in law, although we were studying in different campuses of the Sydney University, but we were both living in the same college or hostel, as they call it. So that's how we met, in that hostel called International House.
I ended up in Sydney because it was just the spirit of adventure that took me out of Mexico. I did my first degree, my bachelor's degree in law in Mexico City, and I was working for the central bank there. Frankly, it was just an adventure. It never crossed my mind to become better educated or something. It was just the right time for me to go and do something outside of Mexico, because I didn't want to spend the rest of my life not seeing the rest of the world. And it just seemed the perfect opportunity. My family was delighted that I was going to study and become educated. And everybody was happy for me at work, and they thought I was going to come back, but I never came back. Yeah.
During those days, I was acting as a senior resident in that international house. So my role was when the director will go away during the office hours, he was there. When he went away after hours and weekend, my job was to let all the new people in and make sure they're all well looked after, or if they lock themselves out of their rooms, I had the master key and all those sort of things. So I was used to meeting all the new people who were coming in. So I thought, yeah, here's another one.
Yep.
Nothing thought,
Yep.
Didn't think much of it in the first meeting. So it was nothing like love at first sight or anything like that.
I had just arrived in my heavy leather coat and boots, riding boots, into an Australian summer, from the cold Mexican winter and Australian summer, dragging 2 massive bags full of, clothes. And I go in and I check out, and there's a Chilean receptionist, and we start talking. She goes, "Oh, I'll introduce you to them." So there was a Filipino and an Indian. He was the Indian, and our Filipino friend, who's still is a good friend. So they were the first 2 people I met on 10 minutes after I arrived. I think it was just over time. We had a lot of the same friends. And
we both liked playing table tennis, so we used to play a fair bit of table tennis together in the hostel.
Yeah.
And, spend more time, and as she said, it sort of grew from there. Yeah. About a year later, I was going back to India for a holiday, and I asked her if she would like to come along with me to India, and she said yes. So that was a good start. Then I introduced her to my parents, and my dad, being in a job where he had traveled around the world quite a bit, so he was very open-minded. He had seen many mixed couples, and so it wasn't a big deal. Whereas my mom was a bit more conservative, and also the fact she didn't speak any English, she was worried how I'm going to communicate with my daughter-in-law. So but other than that, she was quite okay, because growing up in Pakistan, which today it's called Pakistan, but growing up there, my mom went to a Catholic school as a little girl, so she was quite okay with the Catholic culture, and so it was no problem, mainly from the parents' side. And having seen her and met her, they were quite okay with me to get to the next stage.
I found similarities between the Mexican culture and the Indian culture in that families are tight and tightly knit and close to one another, and there's a lot of respect between generations, or there was, maybe to a greater degree before, but definitely no similarities in the physical look of the countries. Yeah. The Indian culture, the Pakistani, the Middle Eastern culture did fascinate me, and I loved the food. Our relationship a lot has been about eating. We'd go out a lot to Indian restaurants. At that time, there was a little dhaba, which was cheap and perfect for students. Remember?
And for me, again, it was adventure or fascination about Latin culture, to see that, how they enjoy food and music and dancing. And so, it was a lot of fun to interact with a lot of Latinos, and I had also got a job offer to go and work in Fiji at that time, towards the end of my studies. And that's when we decided to get married, which was pretty good, because we did realize that it's going to be too hard for either of us to go either to Mexico or to India to live, because both countries are very different and cultures are quite different. So Fiji turned out to be a really good option for us. So we said, let's move to Fiji, work there for a few years, have a honeymoon, extended honeymoon for 3 years. And that's when we decided we need to start the family, have kids and all that. That's when we moved to New Zealand. In fact, we did consider going back to Australia or New Zealand again. Adventure brought us here. We thought, we've been in Australia, we lived there already, let's try a new place. So we came here, and it's been 27 years, and we have absolutely no regrets that we chose this country to come and live.
My first impression of New Zealand was that it was very easy to come and to live, to find work, to settle yourself in. We had friends, and they kind of showed us the ropes. Just getting an RD number and the basic things where the supermarket is, buy a car, buy a fridge, etc. For us then, it was very, very easy, and it was not so expensive then.
Yeah, I found it very easy to do business here in New Zealand since I arrived. I mean, obviously I started with a job first, and even in the job I got promoted 4 times in first 4 years to a stage where I became a CEO, and I couldn't go any further than that in my career. But then I expanded the business and made this small Kiwi company into a multinational company by opening offices in various other countries. And I always found, people are very nice, easy to deal with, easy to do business with, and no wonder why New Zealand is #1 country in the world for ease of doing business. It's very easy to do business here.
And what is very cool is that when we came, immigrants come here with 2 suitcases each, because that's what the airlines allow you. That's it. And many of our friends came with us, with just a minimal amount of money, and they've done something for themselves through hard work and saving.
Yeah, I think similar to what Dori said, even in our household and probably generally in India, especially those people who have seen the partition and came over with nothing to currently called India, they all have realized the value of hard work and savings and education. So every generation who has done all these 3 things have tried to do better than the previous generation. And again, sometimes we laugh about the fact that, my parents started their life from scratch being an immigrant. So I've been doing exactly the same thing again, repeating the thing. So I'm not sure whether our kids will do that. I think they're pretty much at home here in New Zealand now.
For me, it was having children with 0 support from family. And Samir was away 6 months of the year, every year. So pretty much I used to parent by myself, because he'd come and have to work, and that was the hardest thing for me. Hard because I didn't know what I was doing, and I had a baby that needed constant attention. Yeah.
And the fact we had no family around here, that's what she means. Yeah, we had no family support. None of us have any family over here. So.
Yeah. And I was the youngest, so I didn't have any role models on how to parent. So I depended on my books and Plunkett. Big debt of gratitude to Plunkett.
One thing I would say, what we have achieved as a couple together is that since we arrived here, I pretty much focused on work and making sure we have enough means to live a comfortable life. Whereas Dori has always focused on family and home and making sure that's always well taken care of. So together, dividing our roles and both of us doing our roles really well together as a couple, I think we've done quite well, and we're happy with what we have achieved together.
Our children don't identify as either Mexican or Indian. They identify as Kiwi. And they're just Kiwis.
Yeah, and while the kids were growing up, as Dori mentioned, I was doing a lot of traveling for work. Literally 6 months of the year I used to be away. So I never was able to teach them Hindi language or Punjabi, whereas Spanish being their mother tongue, they're very fluent in Spanish language. Yeah.
So my Catholic faith has really shaped every single aspect of my life and everything I do. I would not consider doing ever anything illegal or immoral or something like that. And this is some values that I'm trying to teach my children as well. There is no conflict ever with Hinduism because he wants the same. So there has never been any conflict. So I have altars in this room, which is the main room, and in my bedroom. And I pray my rosary every day, and I pray other prayers. We go to Mass every Sunday and feast day of obligation. And I take part in church activities. I worked as volunteer for the Cathedral of St. Patrick and St. Joseph for many years. I think it would have been 17 years in the Works and Finance Committee, maintenance and financial aspects of the cathedral, conservation, etc. And so I've always been involved in some way or another with the church.
So growing up in India, we had neighbors who were Christians or Muslims or Sikhs. In fact, some of my best friends are either Sikhs or Christians and even Muslims. So yeah, that's how we grew up without even thinking about what religion or what not. So like a kid, I will go to Gurdwara almost every Sunday. I'll go to Hindu temples, of course. I'll go to church or mosque every now and then as well. So for me, growing up, it was no different than, respecting every religion is the key. So we never had any issues with what faith your friends are following or your neighbors are following, as long as they were all good people. That's what essentially it comes down to. So coming here, first temple we saw was Balmoral Temple here in New Zealand. So we started going there quite regularly and sponsoring a few things, whatever we could afford. Then ISKCON Temple was renovated, and then we started going to ISKCON Temple. We've been sponsoring there for a number of years. So but more than that, even I am quite actively involved in the business community of Indian people who are doing more trade between New Zealand and India. That's my focus at the moment. So when we decided to get married, same time we also decided that we were not going to have children for the first 5 years, because we both love traveling so much. We decided we're going to travel around the world while we are still young and without any obligation. So that's what we did. And also because we met and grew up for a couple of years in Sydney International House, where we met so many people from maybe 45 different countries, and we made friends with them. So now it's always been easy for us to mix and mingle with people of all backgrounds and different cultures, and traveling around the world also has made it easier for us to understand and appreciate different cultures. And even when our kids were born, we've been traveling with them ever since. We thought we were going to slow down, but that never happened.
No.
So our kids been traveling since they were a month or 2 months old. In fact, there was a joke about the fact both our kids were the most traveled kids in their schools when they were early stages of their school. So we always have people from all over the world as friends, and don't even think about it of their background or differences. Now I'm a very social person, so able to make friends very quickly. So we always had a good support from our friends over here, although we don't have any family, but some of our friends are just like family. So we made a very strong support group around us. So which makes us feel at home pretty much.
So my relationship with the Latin American community here is not very significant, in the sense that I have few friends, but they're very good friends. And I know that the Latin American communities does parties, and there's a big community, which I've never attended those parties. Not because I just never found out about them, so I've never been. But it's cool because I already have my good set of friends, and once in a while we invite somebody in when we meet someone. So it's very close and close-knit.
So I remember when we came here in 1995, first time I met the Indian High Commissioner here, he told me that there were only 40,000 Indians in whole of New Zealand. And I know that number has grown up to close to 280,000 now. So there was a time when we came and every new Indian used to come here. We used to pretty much find out and meet them and all that. But that number has increased so fast, so much, we just lost track. So we still have some very good friends from the time when we came, and we sort of all grew together in this country. But I don't know a lot of new immigrants from India who have come in last 5-10 years. But it's good to see every function or gathering we go to, there's so many Indians now. So that number has been growing very rapidly.
What I would advise to somebody that's coming here with married to somebody not from their culture would be to just be super respectful, very patient, and to live really for themselves. I find that people want to live for others, maybe today in the world of Instagram and Pinterest, and they want their lives to look a certain way, but you get nowhere like that. Just be authentic and have a goal, and set yourself a goal for both of you, and little by little just get there. Without, undue expense or whatever. You can have a really good, simple life still in New Zealand. That is one of the things that I love about New Zealand. We came here with nothing, and we never felt poor. Because the beaches, the parks, there's so much.
Yeah, I normally tell a lot of new immigrants I come across all the time looking for, advice as to they come into a new country, what to do, how to go about it. And I tell them that this country is very good. All you need to do is be transparent, be honest, be hardworking, and things will fall in place for you. More you do, more you get back as a reward. So just stick to that basic principle, work hard, do your best, and you'll do well in this country.
During my first few months in New Zealand, I got bored and sad. I asked my mom, I said, "Mom, can I go back to Philippines?"
I had been by myself for a while.
I didn't come here to meet someone. I met him through friends.
She was really good. It's probably me a little bit. I was a bit awkward for me. She seemed to be sincere, and she never lied to me about anything.
Can't stay here alone anymore. He asked if we could stay together.
I'll be there for you.